Do you know that closing costs are optional when you sell your house? Do you know some of the biggest fees you're gonna pay are real estate commission fees, transaction fees, fees for somebody just to put a house on the MLS? That fee can be as high as 7%. Those fees can be totally optional if you know what you're doing going into the transaction. So the seller typically pays the real estate transaction fees, which is upwards of 7%. They pay half the escrow fees, they pay the recording fee, they pay the property sales tax fee, and they pay the owner's title policy. So what does that equal? Fees, 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 all the way up to 12%. So on a $100,000 sale, you could be looking at paying the seller, the seller can look at paying $12,000 in fees. So that would be only putting $88,000 in your pocket after you pay all these fees. The money for all these fees is gonna come out of the sale of your property. It's nothing you have to necessarily pay up front, but instead of putting $100,000 in your pocket, you're only gonna be putting on a 12% calculated closing cost, you're only gonna be putting $88,000 in your pocket. So where does the money come from? The money comes from the buyer. When they pay for the 100, you're only gonna put 88 in your pocket, and that's simply wasted transaction fees for other people to do something that you could have avoided by going direct. Typically, people assume the only way to sell a house is going through a realtor and having to pay these fees. They just assume that's normal practice, and that's what they do without exploring all their options. A potential outcome that can pop its head at closing is going to be a repair that you weren't even aware that needed to be made. For example, the appraisal is done on the property. You didn't have water heater straps on your water heater, which is now an appraisal contingency. You had a broken window, a little cracked vane that you weren't aware of. Your air conditioning in the attic, some of the vents were torn. These will all pop its head either in the inspection or the appraisal. And what you want to do is you would want to get your house pre-inspected before you get to closing and realize there's $5,000 in repairs that you could have done for $500 to $700 and avoided this hiccup that's now happened between you and the buyer. So always do a pre-inspection on your property first. Listing your house for sale by owner, does that avoid me having to pay some fees? Absolutely it does. However, it might not be the best route because you're gonna limit your audience. You're gonna limit the amount of people that are viewing your property. When you put a for sale by owner sign in the front yard, you're only gonna get the people driving by. However, when you put your house on the market, you're gonna get it out to thousands and thousands and thousands of agents that potentially have buyers to see your property. So if you're trying to sell your house for $100,000 by yourself, an agent might be able to bring you an offer for $108,000. So paying the fees might get you the more money. However, for sale by owner, it is definitely a reduction in fees, but it's not always the best way to go. Selling a property direct to us offers no closing costs. It's a perfect win-win. What it's gonna do, we're gonna come in and we're gonna give you one number. That one number is what you're gonna get from us. That's what you're gonna put in your pocket. So there is no surprises. There's no, unexpected repairs. We come, we do our inspection, we give you a number, 10 days later, that number has happened and we are done. So we've avoided a 14-page contract. We've avoided undue expenses that have come up. We've avoided contingencies. We're the buyer, it's our money, and we're able to do what we say we're gonna do. There is no real estate fees. There is no escrow fees. There is no title fees. There is no transfer tax. Why? Because all those fees are gonna be covered by the buyer. There is no realtor because we're dealing direct. You came straight to us. So because of that, we came straight to you with our money, with our team, with our expertise. We offered you $100,000. What happened? You put $100,000 in your pocket. Very simple, very easy transaction. What surprises will you see when closing with us? Actually, there's not gonna be any surprises. If anything, you might get better service than anticipated. When we do a contract, we always put a close date. 9 times out of 10, we're able to close before that date. So what does that mean? You got your money earlier than anticipated. I've never had anybody complain about that. Selling your house is one of the biggest decisions you're ever gonna make. And we're gonna cover the buying, the selling, the fixing, the contracting, the headache, the fees. And I wanna teach you some information on some of the stuff to avoid, some of the stuff to get involved in, and just different content for you to learn and educate yourself. So watch the following videos, click through, see what else I have to offer. A lot of insider tips. Why? Because we've done so many houses, we've had so many headaches. I want to teach you how you can avoid that and have a good experience.